The Manhattan skyline shimmered that night, its lights flickering like champagne bubbles against the black velvet sky. Inside the grand ballroom of the Langmore Hotel, every chandelier sparkled like captured stars, every corner dripping in wealth and vanity. It was the annual Hearts of Gold charity gala, the kind of event where millionaires wrote six-figure checks just to be seen doing it. And moving silently between their laughter and clinking glasses was Jasmine Carter. She wasn't supposed to be there. Not in this world of diamonds and tailored tuxedos. She was just one of the invisible ones, a waitress with a practiced smile and aching feet, balancing silver trays heavier than her rent. At 28, Jasmine had learned to keep her head down, her voice soft, and her uniform spotless. 2 jobs, 1 dream. To save enough to put her younger brother through college. Carter, table 7 needs refills. Move fast, barked the floor manager through his earpiece. Yes, sir. She moved gracefully across the marble floor, her tray steady, her smile rehearsed. Around her, guests buzzed about the stock market, new startups, luxury getaways. The air smelled of imported lilies and expensive perfume. And in the center of it all, the star of the evening, stood Evelyn Hartman. Evelyn was everything Manhattan worshipped, beautiful, confident, terrifying. Her platinum blonde hair fell in perfect curls down her back, her gown a silver masterpiece that shimmered with every camera flash. She was the wife of real estate mogul Richard Hartman, but she wasn't living in his shadow. She was a CEO in her own right, founder of Hartman Luxe Cosmetics. Women adored her. Men feared her. Jasmine had only seen her on magazine covers before, always smiling with that icy perfection. Up close, Evelyn's presence felt magnetic, like staring at a storm wrapped in silk. The night went on. The music swelled. Speeches were made. Champagne flowed like liquid gold. And then it happened, that one, stupid, life-changing moment. Jasmine was moving behind Evelyn's chair, refilling glasses as a photographer crouched nearby for a shot. The crowd shifted unexpectedly, bumping her arm just as she turned. Her tray, lined with crystal flutes, wobbled. One glass tipped, and the silver rim of the tray snagged a lock of Evelyn's hair. A small tangle, barely noticeable, but when Evelyn turned her head, the tray jerked, and suddenly, the impossible happened. Evelyn's head whipped backward, a few strands tearing free, her drink spilling down her designer gown. Gasps rippled across the ballroom. The music stopped mid-note. "Oh my God!" Evelyn shrieked, spinning around. "Are you insane?" I'm so sorry, ma'am. It was an accident," Jasmine stammered, reaching to help. "Don't you touch me." Evelyn's voice sliced through the air. "You filthy!" She stopped, eyes narrowing at Jasmine's brown skin and trembling hands. Of course it's you. Who even let you in here?" The room froze. Cameras clicked. People whispered. Jasmine's face burned, tears threatening, but she stood still, mortified. "I said I'm sorry," Jasmine whispered. "Sorry." Evelyn spat the word. "You ruined a $9,000 gown, yanked my hair like a child, and you think sorry fixes that? You people never learn." The phrase stung, sharp, venomous. Jasmine's lips trembled. Around them, no one intervened. The guests watched like it was a performance, sipping champagne as Evelyn's fury unfolded. "Get her out of here." Evelyn snapped at the manager. "Now. I don't care who she works for. She's done." The manager looked terrified but obeyed. "Jasmine, please." But Jasmine was already stepping back, her vision blurring with tears. "It was an accident," she whispered again, voice breaking. "I didn't mean." "Out!" Evelyn screamed, brushing at her ruined dress as if Jasmine's presence were contagious. "And make sure she never works at another Hartman event again." The humiliation was suffocating. People averted their eyes as Jasmine was escorted out, her tray shaking in her hands, her dignity shattered somewhere on the ballroom floor. Outside, the night had turned cold. Rain poured down in sheets, flattening her curls and soaking through her thin uniform. She stood there under the awning, clutching her apron to her chest as taxis sped past, their lights blurring through tears. The city that never slept didn't even notice her. In that moment, Jasmine felt like the world had taken one look at her and decided she didn't belong. She walked home in silence, her shoes squeaking, her heart heavy. The laughter from the ballroom echoed faintly behind her, the sound of a life she could never touch. And as lightning cracked above the skyline, she whispered through clenched teeth, "One mistake and I'm ruined." The next morning, sunlight spilled weakly through the cracks of Jasmine's Brooklyn apartment window. Dust floated in the air like ghosts of better days. Her uniform hung on the back of a chair, still damp from last night's rain, a silent reminder of the humiliation she couldn't erase from her mind. Her phone buzzed on the table. Another message from her manager. "I'm sorry, Jasmine. Mrs. Hartman's people called. We can't have you back. Word spreading. No one wants the drama." Her stomach sank. The message was short, sterile, but it meant everything. No job, no paycheck, no second chance. Jasmine sat on the edge of her bed, the springs creaking beneath her. She rubbed her temples, trying to stop the ache behind her eyes. Rent was due in 4 days. Her mother's medical bills were piling up. Her brother, Malik, still needed tuition money for the semester. And now, because of one mistake, one humiliating moment, everything she'd fought for was slipping through her fingers. Across town, in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, Evelyn Hartman sipped her morning latte from a gold-trimmed cup. She looked flawless, even at dawn. Her assistant scrolled through emails, while Evelyn reviewed photos from last night's gala. The headlines were glowing. "Evelyn Hartman dazzles at Hearts of Gold Gala. Hartman Luxe CEO raises record donations." But there, in the corner of one photo, Jasmine, her face turned away, caught mid-chaos as Evelyn recoiled. "Delete every image with that waitress," Evelyn ordered, "and make sure she never works another event in this city again. I want her name on every agency's blacklist." Her assistant hesitated. "Every agency, ma'am?" Evelyn didn't look up. "Every single one." By the end of the week, Jasmine had walked the length of Manhattan with her resume, from restaurants to hotels. Each interview ended the same way. Polite smiles, promises to get back to her. Then silence. One manager finally said what others were too kind to say. "We've heard about the incident at the Langmore Gala. It's best we avoid any controversy." Jasmine felt her chest tighten. Evelyn's reach was longer than she thought. Back home, she sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by unopened bills. Her mother's cough echoed from the next room, frail, painful, and wet. Jasmine rushed in, holding her mother's hand as she struggled to breathe. "Ma, I'm gonna fix this," Jasmine whispered. "I promise." Her mother smiled weakly. "You always try so hard, baby. Maybe it's time to rest." But rest wasn't an option. Days turned into weeks. Jasmine pawned her jewelry, sold her late father's watch, stopped eating dinner so her mother could. Then one gray morning, she came home from a failed interview to find her landlord waiting by the door, holding an eviction notice. "I'm sorry, Miss Carter. You're 2 months behind. I can't keep letting it slide." She begged, pleaded, but the world had grown deaf to her voice. Meanwhile, Evelyn's world only grew louder. Her company was expanding internationally. She graced magazine covers with titles like Women Who Run the World and Beauty with Brains. Her mansion in the Hamptons was featured on a lifestyle show. She gave speeches about hard work and resilience, words she'd never understand from the other side. Every photo of her smiling face was a reminder of everything Jasmine wasn't allowed to be. Winter came early that year. Jasmine's mother passed quietly one night, her hand still in Jasmine's. The hospital lights buzzed above her, sterile and indifferent. Jasmine sat there for hours, numb. There was no money for a funeral, only a small cremation paid for by Malik's college friend. She scattered her mother's ashes by the East River, where the city lights rippled like tears on the water. That night, she walked home alone. Snow fell, soft and silent, covering the city that had forgotten her. Her hands were cracked from the cold, her breath visible in the air. She stopped by a storefront. One of Evelyn's billboards loomed above it, radiant and untouchable. Evelyn's smile glowed under neon light, promising luxury, success, power. Jasmine stared at it for a long time, her heart aching with every breath. She pressed her palm against the cold glass of the window. "One day," she whispered, her voice trembling but sure. One day, she'll know what it feels like to lose everything. Then she turned and walked away into the night, small against the towering city, but not broken. Not yet. 2 years had passed. Manhattan hadn't changed, still loud, glittering, and hungry. But behind one of its tallest glass towers, Evelyn Hartman's empire was beginning to rot from the inside out. At first, the cracks were small, a missed shipment here, a faulty product batch there. Hartman Luxe Cosmetics had built its empire on perfection, and Evelyn demanded it at all costs. But perfection doesn't last forever, especially when you've built it on fear. That Monday morning, Evelyn stormed into her office on the 58th floor, her heels clicking like gunshots on marble. Her assistant trailed behind, nervous, clutching a tablet. "Explain this," Evelyn snapped, tossing a glossy magazine onto her desk. The headline screamed, "Hartman Luxe under fire. Former employees speak out about toxic culture." Below the headline were anonymous testimonies, stories of mistreatment, unpaid overtime, harassment, and a CEO who ruled with a diamond fist. "They're exaggerating," Evelyn said, pacing. "Lies. Every one of them." Her assistant hesitated. "Ma'am, it's spreading. Social media is going wild. People are calling for boycotts. Hashtags are trending." Evelyn turned sharply. "Hashtags? I built this company from nothing. Do you think I'll lose it over a few angry nobodies?" But she was wrong. Within days, investors began pulling out. Sponsorships were withdrawn. Influencers who once begged to collaborate suddenly went silent. Then came the lawsuits. Several former employees filed claims: workplace abuse, unfair termination, even embezzlement allegations. Evelyn blamed everyone but herself, her lawyers, her PR team, even her husband, Richard. "Fix this, Richard," she shouted one evening as they sat in their penthouse, the city twinkling beyond their floor-to-ceiling windows. "I warned you, Evelyn," he said quietly, loosening his tie. "You made too many enemies." "I made us rich," she shot back. "You made yourself rich," he corrected. "You forgot the people who helped you get there." His tone was cold, final. A week later, divorce papers arrived. Meanwhile, miles away in a quieter corner of Brooklyn, Jasmine Carter was learning to breathe again. Life was still far from perfect, but it was peaceful. She'd found work at a small catering startup called Second Serve, run by a warm-hearted chef named Diana Morales, who believed in second chances. Jasmine had started as a server, the same role that once destroyed her, but now she helped manage events. Her grace under pressure, her kindness, and quiet discipline made her indispensable. One afternoon, as she was setting up for a wedding in Queens, Diana handed her a check. "You've been killing it, Jazz. You deserve this," Diana said with a proud smile. "I want you to start managing clients next quarter." Jasmine blinked. "Are you serious?" "As serious as this frosting disaster I'm about to fix." Diana laughed, walking off. For the first time in years, Jasmine allowed herself to smile without guilt. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. But she was stable, and she'd built it herself. Back in the city, Evelyn's world continued to unravel. News outlets feasted on her downfall. One morning, Forbes ran a brutal cover story. From beauty queen to corporate scandal, the fall of Evelyn Hartman. Her mansion in the Hamptons went up for sale. Her husband remarried within months. Her so-called friends disappeared like smoke. And the final blow came in a single, devastating headline. Hartman Luxe CEO indicted on charges of tax evasion and corporate fraud. Reporters swarmed her as she left the courthouse in oversized sunglasses, her once glamorous hair pulled back messily. Cameras flashed, questions flew, and for the first time, she didn't have a polished answer. "Mrs. Hartman, how do you respond to allegations that you stole from your own investors? Did you manipulate your company's earnings reports? Is it true your husband's new wife was your former assistant?" Evelyn pushed past them, her face tight with fury. But the world wasn't listening anymore. The queen of luxury had become the headline she once pitied. One evening, she sat alone in her penthouse, the same space that once hosted champagne parties and fashion shoots. Boxes littered the floor. The silence was deafening. She turned on the TV. flipping channels mindlessly, and froze. A local segment was playing about second-serve catering, featuring a story about women rebuilding after hardship. And there she was, Jasmine Carter, standing confidently in a white blazer, speaking about resilience, hard work, and forgiveness. Evelyn's hand trembled. She turned off the TV. The irony sliced deep. The same woman she'd crushed now glowing with quiet grace. Her reflection in the darkened screen looked unfamiliar, tired eyes, pale skin, and fear she couldn't mask anymore. For the first time in her life, Evelyn Hartman was afraid of what came next. Because deep down she knew. Karma had her name written on it. And this time, there would be no PR spin, no lawyer, no husband, no champagne to wash it down. The storm she'd unleashed on others had finally come home. The county courthouse buzzed with flashes and whispers. Reporters lined the marble steps, microphones trembling in their hands as the city's latest scandal unfolded. Evelyn Hartman, once the face of Manhattan's luxury, now stood before the judge in a charcoal gray suit that couldn't hide her trembling hands. Her signature diamonds were gone. Her posture, once proud, was hunched under the weight of humiliation. Her lawyer spoke in a low, defeated tone. "Your Honor, my client deeply regrets." But the judge cut him off. "Regret doesn't undo years of fraud, Mrs. Hartman. You manipulated investors, falsified earnings, and used charity money for personal luxury. You violated public trust." Evelyn's throat tightened. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. I just wanted to protect what I built." "By destroying others?" the judge asked, eyes sharp. "People lost jobs, homes, lives because of your greed. You built an empire on exploitation, and now it's time you face the cost." The gavel struck, echoing through the silent courtroom. Evelyn Hartman, sentenced to 5 years in Federal Women's Correctional Facility for tax fraud and embezzlement. Gasps filled the room. Cameras clicked like a firing squad. Evelyn didn't look up. She just stared at her hands as tears blurred her vision. The queen had fallen, and there was no one left to catch her. 3 months later, the walls of the Brookfield Women's Correctional Facility were gray and cold, smelling faintly of bleach and despair. Inside the cafeteria, rows of inmates sat quietly, waiting for the annual Reformation banquet, a small event meant to honor progress and rehabilitation. That day, the facility was hosting a new catering partner, Second Serve Events, a rapidly growing company known for employing women who'd once been forgotten by society. Jasmine Carter stepped out of the delivery van, clipboard in hand, her company logo stitched neatly onto her crisp black uniform. Her hair was neatly pulled into a bun, her eyes calm but purposeful. She had come far, farther than she ever thought possible. Her company had grown beyond Brooklyn, now serving events across New York. She trained women who'd lost their jobs, given second chances to those the world had written off. Fate had brought her here, though she didn't know just how poetic it would be until that very moment. As Jasmine and her staff set up trays of food, laughter and chatter rippled across the room. And then, from the far end, escorted by a correctional officer, Evelyn Hartman entered. Orange jumpsuit, no makeup, hair flat and dull. She looked nothing like the woman who once commanded rooms with diamond glare. Her eyes darted nervously, haunted and hollow. She sat quietly, shoulders hunched, trying to disappear among the others, until she looked up and froze. Across the room, standing tall, radiant, and unshaken, was Jasmine. Their eyes locked. Evelyn's lips parted in disbelief, her breath catching. Jasmine held her gaze for a long, silent moment, not with anger, not even satisfaction, but something far heavier. Something Evelyn didn't recognize, peace. The world seemed to stop. The clinking trays faded. The murmurs died. Jasmine walked slowly toward her. Each step was measured, calm, composed. Evelyn rose to her feet, tears welling in her eyes. "Jasmine," she whispered, voice trembling. "It's really you." Jasmine nodded slightly. "It's me." Evelyn swallowed hard, her voice breaking. I don't even know where to begin. What I did to you, it was cruel. I destroyed your life, and you didn't deserve that. I was arrogant, blind." Jasmine raised a hand gently, stopping her mid-sentence. Her voice was soft, steady. "You taught me that one mistake can destroy a life," she said. "And that's what you made of yours." The words landed like truth itself, heavy but pure. Evelyn's tears fell freely now. She sank back into her chair, unable to meet Jasmine's eyes. For a long moment, they both just stood there, one woman bound by chains, the other freed by grace. Finally, Jasmine exhaled and looked around the room. "Enjoy your meal," she said simply, before turning away. As she walked toward the exit, her staff watching with quiet awe, Evelyn's voice cracked from behind. Do you forgive me?" Jasmine paused at the door. The silence stretched. Then, without turning, she said softly, "I already did, the moment I stopped letting you define me." And with that, she stepped out into the sunlight. The metal doors clanged shut behind her, but for Evelyn, the sound wasn't just the end of freedom. It was the echo of everything she'd lost. She sat back down, staring at the untouched food on her tray. For the first time in her life, Evelyn Hartman understood what hunger really felt like, not for food, but for peace. The heavy metal doors of the prison closed behind Jasmine with a slow, echoing clang. She steps out into the crisp Manhattan morning, sunlight brushing across her skin. For a moment she pauses, looking up at the skyline, tall, endless, glittering. The same city that once broke her and then rebuilt her from the ruins. A gentle wind carries the faint hum of traffic and distant chatter. Jasmine exhales, her breath trembling but peaceful. The world feels quiet now. No more noise, no more anger, just the sound of her own steady heartbeat. Her voice comes through in calm narration. "There was a time I thought revenge would fix everything, but sometimes life has a way of fighting your battles for you. You just have to keep standing." Cut to a new, vibrant office space in Brooklyn. A small sign reads, "The Second Step Foundation, empowering those who were silenced." Inside, Jasmine moves among a diverse group of young workers and volunteers. They're organizing files, making calls, and laughing. The atmosphere warm, hopeful. We see a collage of moments. Jasmine shaking hands with a smiling waitress she just helped, a framed photo of her late mother on her desk, and a plaque on the wall. Founded by Jasmine Carter, from service to strength. Meanwhile, in stark contrast, a dimly lit prison cell. Evelyn sits alone on a hard cot. Her manicured nails are chipped, her hair unkempt. She stares at a torn, wrinkled magazine page, her own face, smiling in luxury, holding an award. Her tears fall silently onto the paper. The echoes of laughter from other inmates fade into a haunting quiet. She whispers to herself, maybe a prayer, maybe regret, and presses the torn page against her chest. Back outside, Jasmine steps into a waiting car. The camera lingers on her as she gazes at the city once more, eyes soft, not bitter. Sometimes, karma wears heels, and sometimes she serves with grace. But one thing's for sure, life never forgets what you dish out.